Yo, what's up? Thanks for stopping back by the channel. Today I've given myself the incredibly difficult task of ranking my top 5 keyboards of 2024. We built over 50 keyboards this year through our streams and other forms of content, so we had a massive list to work through. I was pretty tough with my criteria, and only boards that were scored an 8 out of 10 or above were eligible to be entered into the list. And with all that out of the way, let's get into our honorable mentions, and then we'll get into our top 5. So, starting out the honorable mentions, we have the Adamas. Now this keyboard, we just built it a couple weeks ago and it's absolutely beautiful. The coastal blue color of the case paired with the copper accents was a 10 out of 10 color combination. The Adamas had a really clean side profile with this beautiful curve and a huge diamond inset on the back. Now how this diamond catches the light was absolutely beautiful. If you just rotated it around, you could catch all those facets lighting up, and it was really something to look at. Like, I would honestly keep that board on the shelf, flipped around, and just look at it all the time. So yeah, the Adamas has this isolated top mount that really cleaned up the pitch of the board. Overall, a great way to end out the year. Next up, we'll talk about the Mode Sonnet Refresh. The Refresh is literally everything that I already loved about the Mode Sonnet, but better. You have the lattice block system, which is arguably one of my favorite systems, and it's super modular. You can really customize it and fine tune it to your liking. Paired with some new case options such as the polycarbonate top. I went for a full polycarbonate at first, but now I'm using a polycarbonate with copper, and it just looks gorgeous, honestly. Not to mention the lattice leans toward a clackier sound signature, so my unit is super clacky, right up there with like some of my favorite boards that I own, and it stayed in my rotation a lot this year. Next up, we'll talk about the Orbit 2. The Orbit 2 made me fall in love with brown anodization again. I just love the cozy feel and warmth that it brings to your setup. Overall, I really love the tasteful design aesthetic of the Orbit 2. It has a really clean side profile and a huge brass bottom. Overall, I'm a big fan of the sound and feel as well. For the sound, it's super crispy. For the typing feel, you can really dial on your experience with the different stiffnesses for the tadpoles. So overall, another great board to end the year. Lastly, we have the Part 175. I absolutely love the color of the teal case paired with the copper bottom. This board has a more boxy and angular appearance. The typing feel was a little bit more stiff due to it being top mount. However, I think this is the year that I'm finally coming into top mount because I actually did enjoy it. Alright, now let's get into the top 5. So my number 5 pick is the Protagonist. I was lucky enough to be able to photograph most of the build combinations for you guys to see for promotional content. This was to kind of promote the board as it was launching. Now, with all that out of the way, that doesn't really sway my opinion on the board at all. I genuinely just really enjoyed it, and you guys did too. It meant a lot to me to see you guys resonate with the photography that I did, and you guys really locked onto this balloon photo here, and I really loved it too. It was really nice to see you guys supporting me and my creativity. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the Protag. I really loved the boxy and almost industrial feel that the board had, and the keyframe was really unique and a feature that I had never really tried in a keyboard at that point. With the keyframe, you could change the top case to match kind of when keyless, when key, and HHKB. So you can actually fine tune your layout on the fly and pick up different keyframes so you can change your layout whenever you want. Now outside of the design, I really loved the silicone grommets. These allowed for the keyboard to be very soft to type on and have a very clacky and clean sound, which is right up my alley. So yeah, if the Protag was in my possession for a little bit longer, I genuinely could have seen this board being even higher up on the list, but regardless, it was definitely one that stood out to me this year and one that I wish I could go back to. Now in the number 4 spot, we have the Cloud9 by Machina. This is another 60% form factor that stayed in my rotation a lot this year. It has that same elegant and understated design philosophy as the Orbit 2, and that beautiful side profile. This time you can see the copper bottom from the front and the back, so it's definitely a nice touch. Speaking of a nice touch, the aluminum raw finish was absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't stop looking at this, especially for the first week after building it. I was absolutely just blown away by it. And not to mention the sound and feel was very full-bodied, nice and soft, just a beautiful all-around board and a great typing experience. Another standout feature that I really enjoyed was the true HHKB layout. It was really unique and something I hadn't personally tried before. So yeah, let's get into our top 3. Come on, this is going to be huge. Alright, so let's get into the top 3. Now, any of these keyboards could be number 1, 2, and 3. They're all phenomenal. I love each of them equally. I just wanted to kind of lead with that way, there's no bad blood out here. But yeah, let's move into it. My number 3 choice on this list is the Event Horizon. Now the Event Horizon is one of probably the most gorgeous finishes I've ever seen on a keyboard. Like, it looks alien. It looks like something crash landed from space and you found it and it was a keyboard for some reason. It just really was absolutely beautiful. It looks alien, and I mean that. Like, the texture on this finish is insane. And it's cool, the contrast of that insane texture with the brushed like aluminum and the stainless steel weight. It's really elegant in that way, and it's just something out of this world, quite literally. Outside of that, you had a really clean and poppy sound signature with the O-ring and the silicone plate mount. You can also kind of customize the typing feel in that way. The silicone layer would be more stiff, the O-ring would have a bit more bounce. So it was pretty flexible all around and had a very clean sound signature, which is something I'm into. I like that cleanness, you know, no resonance, no pinging, no nothing. Just that full-bodied clack. And it was just epic, honestly. Like, if you describe that board in a word, it's epic, legendary. Like, that's the best way to describe it. So yeah, that's my number 3 pick. And now to get to the number 2 pick. Number 2 pick was one that we have a kind of an interesting story. Originally, I didn't love the concept whenever it was first announced. This before it ever got in my hands, before I ever saw it in person. I didn't know how the materials would kind of blend together and work and function. I was kind of questioning that a little bit. But once I got it in hand, everything changed. It was like a 180. I just fell in love with the keyboard completely. And if this board had a word to describe it, it would be cozy. And the keyboard we're talking about is the Mode Encore. It blends wood with aluminum and copper, in my case anyway, and it just looks absolutely phenomenal. How they implemented it is perfect. It's just the perfect amount of texture, which is something I'm finding that I like as well in keyboards. Is like, I like a board to have some texture to it, and that's whether it be the finish or materials used. And in this case, the wood really adds that sense of coziness and warmth that I'm looking for. Not to mention, it also features Mode's lattice system, which, as I've mentioned before with the Sonnet, I love that system. It's one of my favorite mounting styles. And yeah, it's just super modular, super convenient to play with and really build out to be exactly what you want it to be. Not to mention, the sound is absolutely incredible as well. I do feel like, though, you are required to use the force brake pads. To me, that's not a big deal because I think force brakes aren't that like intrusive, but that is just something to note. Otherwise, phenomenal design, absolutely love it. Something that really stands out to me is the weight. I've never seen this before personally, but it has like an inset curve on the bottom, which it catches the light in the most beautiful way, and photographing that thing is like a field day, honestly. So yeah, overall, just one of my favorite boards of the year, and it definitely deserved a place on my top 5. All right, so this is the tough one. This is my number 1 pick, and I feel like it might be a little bit controversial, but to me, it represents exactly what the keyboard hobby is. The keyboard hobby is us like finding our preferences and finding things that we enjoy, even if it's something that we did not expect to love, right? And that is exactly what happened with the keyboard that's in my number 1 list. When we originally built this board on stream, I was actually disappointed. I didn't like it, and it actually just ended up being the specific configuration that I used. I wasn't a fan of it. But after the stream, we built it again, and I fell in love. It's very simple overall. I would say the design is very understated, very minimal. You know, it's just super something you would not expect to be the number 1 pick, to be honest, especially following the Encore and the Event Horizon that we just talked about. You definitely wouldn't anticipate this board being my number 1. And I guess I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. My number 1 pick is the KMG B65. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This board is so simple. It trust me, I know. But it has been on my desk the most this year. And to me, it speaks for itself. It argues for itself there. Why has it been on my desk? I have no idea, but it has. And to me, that is proof enough for me to put it in number 1. It's been my most used keyboard this year, which is surprising because I hate aluminum top mount, and this keyboard is aluminum top mount. I don't get it. I really don't, but we're here, and that's where we're at, and that's the list. So the reasons why I like it, by the way. It's very clean, very classic. It's a very timeless 65%. Like, if you drew me a picture of the most basic 65% you could, I imagine it would look something like this. Except, I love how thick it is on the side. It's a really thick side profile, and the machined weight on this thing looks beautiful. It's a lot like the Cloud 9, how it has that raw finish. It's like mirror-like, but it's not at the same time. But you can see the individual little circles in there, and it's just really pretty. And it is something that I keep coming back to. And I think it could be that it's a silver keyboard. I can just pair a lot of keycaps with it. I don't know. But yeah, it's up there. It's my number one. It just is. I don't know. Yeah, speaking to the sound profile, very clean and crisp, full-bodied sound. A lot of pop in the spacebar. The typing feel is definitely more stiff because it is aluminum top mount, but it has some relief cuts, and I removed the center mounting point, so it does have a bit more give than you would expect it to. And yeah, so that's it. That's the KMG B65 at my number one. And honestly, I'm really proud of this list. I loved every keyboard I put on here. All these keyboards, even the honorable mentions, stayed in my rotation. And yeah, it was just a great year for keyboards, to be honest. So I want to say thank you guys. I want to say thank you for watching this video. I want to say thank you for supporting us on streams and in my content here on YouTube and over on Instagram. And all the designers and vendors who trusted me to do work for them, do photography, video, showcase their products, and share them with you guys, and give us the opportunity to experiment and play around. I'm just truly grateful this year. And yeah, I don't want to cry, but I just want to just round it out with a huge thank you to everybody. And yeah, let's have a great 2025. So thank you guys for all your support, and that's my top 5 list of 2024. So until next time, I'll key you later. Peace.